And you said he gives the vet, he gave the vet or vet tech a hard time as well?
The vet, I don't know if it was the vet or the vet tech, but they try to keep him still to give him shots. And he snapped.
Yeah.
So that's, I mean, beyond at home, you know, it's, you know, we're afraid to take him to the groomer, frankly, because, I mean, he's old enough now, he could probably use a bath and a haircut, but we don't know what he's going to do when we take him to the groomer. Is he gonna
Bring him on over. We're going to get him up here. We're going to get moving pretty quick with this. See if you can guide him to go up at like a set of steps.
Would it be easier if we were to use, we haven't used this yet, but this is the
Slip lead.
slip leash that you had recommended.
There we go. Smaller pieces. Now, what I'm going to do is when he gets up there, is I'm just going to go right into it. Right, I'm going to loop my fingers under his collar. I'll start holding him. I'll avoid getting myself bit. I'll just kind of keep him away from me. Not going to say anything. Right, as soon as he like surrenders or stops, I'll mark it and then we'll reward.
Okay.
All right. Ah, he jumped off. Let him eat the piece for turning his head. There you go. Let me see his leash quick. Come on, bud. Uh-uh. Come on. Let's go. So like all I'm doing is like when he fights, I just become a post. I don't let him go anywhere. But I don't fight with him.
Right.
So I'm not adding any tension into it. But I just maintain the, like, so he already advanced this far, right? This is where I stop the leash. So if he starts moving into me, he'll make the leash pressure go away, but he can't make it go away by like practicing flight, right? Or avoidance or fighting. Right, see I moved into it again? Come on, let's go. Good. Right, so this is very similar, really similar work to what we're gonna do with the restraint work. Come on. Good.
There you go.
Good job. All right, so we're gonna take this off so we don't get tangled on it. And I'm just gonna hold his, collar. And when he stops moving, yes. I mark, I release the collar, I reward.
Yeah, I want
Now I hold again.
Yes, how he does it.
Yes. And I start with the collar because it's easiest, right? I can avoid getting bit and things like that.
Yeah.
So I'll just hold. If he's pulling tension into me or anything, he doesn't get anything. As soon as he freezes, yes. I release the collar, I mark it, and then I give him a reward. The reward can come a little bit late, right? But the marking and the release of the restraint is the important part.
What's the marker? Yes?
Yes.
That's
Yep.
the
Marker word. Yeah. Yes. All right, and then we turn this into. I'll hold his collar, and then I'll hold his foot. He's like kind of like pulling it a little bit, trying to move a little bit. As soon as he stops moving, right? He stopped moving, like he kind of like gave up because he tried to pull his paw away a couple times. It wasn't getting him anywhere. I mark and reward that. Same thing with the other paw. Yes. Right, if he's not fighting, we mark and reward.
So is the release and the mark simultaneous?
Yes. Yeah.
It is, okay.
Yep. So I make the restraint disappear, and he hears the marker, meaning that lets him know that he did the right thing.
Okay.
Right? And then the reinforcement comes afterwards.
Great.
Right? Yes. Right? And if he learns that he can just be chill and get rewarded, right? I can touch his leg. Yes. Right? He freezes up, doesn't do anything, gets rewarded. If I get under his belly, hold him a little bit. When I can feel him relax, yes, I'll mark and reward. Right? Because you can feel their tenseness in their body, right? They're like, ugh. As soon as they relax, boom, you release, mark and reward. So basically, anytime there's no tenseness, there's no anything, you're rewarding two things: the behavior of him accepting what's going on, but then the mindset as well, right? Because there's a physical behavior where he relaxes, but that also means the mind relaxes as well,
Okay.
right? So this starts desensitizing him to touch in a variety of ways, right? Pulling a little bit. Yes. Yes. You can feel his belly loosen up. Right, and then he starts participating in it instead of fighting. Right, and this could be like the doctor wants to listen with the stethoscope, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Mark and reward, and he learns how to freeze.
How he growls, like that's usually what he does.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's
Well, you
louder
can't
than
respond to it, right? So like I had no response to it. I just kept doing what I was doing. Right? And I just continued to hold him, and he was like, "Oh, I didn't make you go away." Now, he didn't continue to fight. Now, a growl is communication.
Right.
It's not the worst thing in the world, but he's got to learn that like he can't just growl whenever he's being touched, right? That he needs to learn how to be handled a little bit. Yes. And he can also learn that it's rewarding to be handled, not like what happened in the first email you guys sent, where it was like he was like, "Ah," and you were like, "Stop it."
Yeah.
You know, you like get into a fight with your dog,
Exactly.
right? And then what they'll do is they'll forego the growl, and then they'll just straight on fight you, right? The growl is like, "Hey, knock it off," right? But like I didn't add any conflict there, right? Like when he growled at me, I just kind of like held him. Yes.
He was just like, all right, this ain't so bad.
Right, and he knows what's happening. Right, he knows exactly what's happening. You guys want to give it a shot?
Yeah.
Look, he's looking for more. He's like, let's do more of that.
Good boy. Really good.
Try a paw.
Maybe huh? Not fighting at all.
That's good. Mark and reward.
Yes. Good boy. Boy.
Yeah, at the beginning there'll be more fight in the handling, but then after a while they're just kind of like, yeah, okay, touch my paw,
Yeah,
touch my
it's
other
like
paw,
you need to
right?
touch
And then
the
they're not as worried about it, because you're reinforcing the idea of cooperating, whereas like typically when they get handled at the vet, it's kind of like there's a lot of force, something terrible happens, they get a shot, right? It's not pleasant, right? And then like afterwards, when they let go, right? The puppy would probably, most of the time, from what I see, they never really let the dog find acceptance before giving the shot. It's just kind of like hold the dog, give the shots, let him go, and then try and like make him feel happy again. But it doesn't really do. Yeah, it doesn't really help the dog find a positive mindset about the experience. So really what you do is you help them find acceptance before you start on the procedure, right? So if he can find acceptance, right, you're holding his paw, and then you clip a nail, right? Or you're holding him up and you're brushing him, right? But he's already in acceptance before you start that, if you have an easier time. So if he were to be cooperating and then get the shot, it'd be a lot different.
Well, to your point on Saturday, like typically, if we're going to scoop him up or whatever, I'll give him a treat. He'll actually, if he's sitting down, he'll actually get up and give him a treat and kind of ease into it, and then I'll pick him up. I was in such a hurry on Saturday, and he was exhausted to fall out. I gave him a treat. It was almost like a quick scoop as I had to get going, and that's when he snapped. Like he didn't get into
that's one of those things where like let a sleeping dog lie sort of thing. Okay. If you want him to move, grab the leash. The slip lead's the easiest one because you don't even have to like get on there and find the ring. You just kind of drop it on their head and like you go, right? And you're like, let's go, we're moving, right? And then there's not conflict there. Whereas if he's just kind of like relaxed and you're like, whoop, like that, like a lot of dogs will not like that. Dogs typically don't really like being held. That's why we have to do stuff like this, right? Desensitizes them to the idea of being touched. Right, and if you do this stuff with him now, it makes nails easier, it makes grooming in general easier, makes vet visits easier, right? And you can still do this kind of stuff with Sunny, right?
Yeah.
Even though he might not be like a fighter of any sort, it'll help him view it as a more positive thing.
Right.
He's like, all right, more food.
No, it's very food-driven.
Yeah, so if he's leaning forward, pulling, pushing, anything like that,